Yeah, that's the big dog hunt. Logan, everybody, welcome to another episode of Kallas and Marks with your host, Joe Staszak, also Steve Kallas. What's up, Steven? How are you, my friend?
Well, good, Joe. Great to be with you as always.
You too. It's good that we finally have playoff hockey. We have playoff basketball starting today. Um, let's start with the NBA. I know you like those playing games. Very important, those 7-10 play playing games. Go ahead. You have the floor, my friend.
Where to start? Where to start? Big perk. After those great playing games they had, I think it was Tuesday night. Here's a quote from Big Perk. Give Adam Silver flowers again for the addition of the play-in tourney. We saw two great games tonight. Now, they saw two great games tonight where the guys who wind up at the end are going to be, the 8 seed losing to OKC or the Pistons or the 7 seed. And I just don't understand how mediocrity is so rewarded because virtually all these teams from 7 to 10 are mediocre, or a few games over 500. And I don't know why. Look, this is all about this. This is just we have a bunch more. You have to beat this team twice, so you have to do this. It's just, to me, it shouldn't be. But again, you're not going to stop these things. We want to get, it's kind of like the cup, the NBA Cup in the middle of the season. Oh, and here's a good one for you. Tell me if you knew this. Just want to see if I can find it. A couple of things. Did you know that Doncic played in 64 games this year and Cunningham played in 64 games this year? Yet, tell me if you knew about this now, Joe. They're both they both can win all the awards this year. Why, you ask? Because they have something called extraordinary circumstances where you can be eligible for 65 games, even if you didn't play 65 games. And that's what happened to Doncic and Cunningham. They are both allowed to win MVP or anything else you want to pick out because apparently they have a meeting with the NBA and the Players Association, and they decide if these were extraordinary circumstances. The extraordinary circumstances with Doncic, which is the only one I could find about as opposed to Cunningham, Doncic missed at least one game. I think it was just one game for his daughter's birthday. And he also had a hamstring injury towards the end of the year. So they said, extraordinary circumstances, he's eligible.
Well, if you're
I'm
talking about
not knocking
Sophie's,
that. The 65 game rule is absurd. This is why, and this is what you're seeing. Unfortunately for Edwards from Minnesota, he played 61 games and he made the same appeal, but it was rejected. So I guess if you got 64, you're kind of in. But if you only got 61, you're kind of
if you
out.
went to your daughter's birthday,
I'm just telling you what.
okay, they've jumped the whale. Forget about the shark. Are you kidding me? If you talk about Sophie Cunningham, I'll vote for her. I like her. But really, I mean, really,
So
that's the most
you're
that's the
hearing
most
about
ridiculous thing I've.
you're hearing about all these rules, but let me give you. We talked about this last week, but let me give you what could have been the most incredible of all, unless they're going to do the extraordinary circumstances rule in the NBA for something else. And that something else is this. And I read it last week. I read them out. Um, the rules with regards to the 15, 20 minutes, the third one doesn't count and this and that.
Yeah,
Well, it just occurred to me when we were talking about the NBA Cup, what was the one of the ones I read? I'm pretty sure it was
you
this.
said their stats do not count.
In
In
the NBA Cup final, your stats do not count. So, not thinking of it last week, but when I was just thinking about it this week, I came up with this genius thing. So, what happened if that guy who scored 83 points,
Bam out of
yeah, in the
bio
bio, what if he scored it in the Cup final?
doesn't count.
It didn't happen.
Didn't happen. It's like a tree falling in the forest.
I just have a feeling they have like an extraordinary circumstances. So if you score over 75 in a game that's the Cup final, it counts. Could you imagine if that happened? If Bam Adebayo was in the NBA Cup final, and he scored 83, and they said it didn't count?
Amazing. Can't make it up.
Um, I don't want to take away from all the games that are going on, but again, I think most of these games, do you say goodbye to Golden State? I mean, nobody thought they were going to be. They had 37 wins this year, the lowest Steve Kerr ever had. Um, they won their first game, but then they lost to the Suns, 111-96. Draymond Green got thrown out with a minute left in the game. The guy can't help himself, I guess. I remember that one time he was saying, "Oh, I always know what I'm doing. I always have it under control. I'm never out of control." And nobody raised their hand and said, "Yeah, what about the time you got suspended for a game in the finals and cost them, in my opinion, cost them an NBA championship?"
Mhm.
But whatever. The interesting stuff there is, so the Suns beat the Golden State. What happens? They get to play OKC. Made for TV, made for money. And when Perk says they were two great games, and those first two games they were excellent games.
They were
But
great games.
they're excellent games for what? It just drives me nuts. But let me say this about Golden State. Draymond Green has a player option. Al Horford, who still can play and hit threes from the corner, he's got a player option. Curry only had 17 points, but they had a nice interview with Curry afterwards. I got to get healthier. I got to stay healthier as I get old. Looks pretty clear like Curry's coming back. Draymond said, "I want to come back if they want me back." But, I think Draymond Green is still a good player. Are these guys enough to get over the top and be champions again? I
Not
don't
with
know.
37 wins. I mean, really?
And Porzingis, who could help them, again, if all these guys stay healthy, which they're all getting older, Porzingis is an unrestricted free agent. If he wants to win a championship, stay at Golden State. I mean, we'll have to see what they do. But it just, you're watching those games and you almost feel bad. In this case, which was not a game, I saw a stat on ESPN. The Suns were behind in the first 39 seconds of the game, and that was it. They were always ahead after that, and they won by 15. So again, for the right to play OKC, what are the chances? I think I take that back now. I saw on ESPN this morning, DraftKings, OKC is minus 3,000 to win the season. Does that mean you put up 3,000 to make 100, Joe?
Yeah, that's what you do. Yeah.
Oh boy.
You're just pretty desperate to make $100. You're going to put up 3 grand.
See, to me, it's not like the NCAA where it's one game and anything can happen in one
No,
game.
that's why it's the beauty of the tournament. It's one and done.
Right. And football, of course, always in the playoffs, it's one game.
Yep.
But in the NBA, which I'm all for, it's 7 games. NHL, which I'm all for, it's 7 games. I don't think we won't see any 3-on-3 overtime anymore. Well, we will.
No, that's done.
And no shootouts.
No shootouts, thank God.
To me, that's an admission that it's a joke.
That's terrible.
Men on second base in the playoffs in baseball, I can't remember now.
No, they don't.
It doesn't matter. We can do 20 minutes of stupid things. But, I think OKC has a big chance. It's hard to pick against them.
They only have 18 losses. I mean, clearly the regular season is the best team, and they won last year. You know what? I'm going to go. I don't know if we're picking. Yeah, I'm going with the Celtics. I'm going with the Celtics. I think they're. It's tough to repeat. Let's put it that way. And even last year, they had, Indianapolis took them to Indiana. Actually, took them to Game 7.
Right, that's
And
right.
Sam Halliburton went down. And that who knows what happens in the last game, but they didn't just walk to the NBA championship. They earned it, and they did. But it's just tough to repeat going through that again. It's just really difficult to repeat. And I like the way the Celtics have played even without Jason Tatum. I know Detroit's the top team in the East, but I'm going with the C's.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that because Tatum, he just came back. What did he play? 10 games, maybe?
Yeah.
And you talk about fresh for the playoffs when people do get tired, especially if these things go 7 games, which they often do. I think you're right, but it's more about picking against the favorite, kind of like horse racing. I hate to pick the favorites, but I think I'm with you on that. It's just they're healthy. These guys, Tatum and Brown, they can play together because they played together forever. So it's not like they missed a whole lot. And so far, Tatum looks pretty good. he's not favoring anything. He's playing pretty well. But I think this was just kind of a build up to the playoffs. That's what it was. It was like a 10 game, let me play for 10 games or whatever it was. Um, but I'm just, to me, these other things, these side things, and now we find out about extraordinary circumstances. Now we found out points don't count in a game. Just weird stuff that I personally never heard of before. But that's so the 65 game rule isn't the 65 game rule. And remember the thing we did with Wembanyama, where he came in for that last game, but he couldn't play between 15 and 20 because he had already had two of those. So he had to go over 20, and they took him out after 20 minutes and 14 seconds. But then he came back and played some more. I guess he could have appealed if he wanted to, because he was supposedly questionable with what do you have, like a rib injury or something?
He had a rib injury when he ran into Paul Pierce,
It's just
Paul
it,
George.
it's just so weird. But now we know they have all these backroom deal, Doncic, yes, Cunningham, yes, you both have 64 games, Edwards, 61 games. I guess he didn't have a good enough excuse. But again, pulled hamstring or daughter's birthday, those are excuses. Those are extraordinary circumstances. I'm not knocking them. Players take off. Once upon a time, you'll remember this, Joe. I mean, going way back, 60s, 70s into the 80s, I think. When your wife was having a baby, you never left the team. Never, ever,
No.
ever, ever. And if you did, you were criticized crazy. Now you have like paternity leave. And I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying it's just that's another thing that's totally changed. Is seeing the birth of your kid more important than a baseball game? Yeah, but it didn't used to be like that. That's all I'm saying.
No, I hear you. Things have changed, certainly. Let's
And
go over to the
one final thing for me in basketball, when LeBron James takes the court today against the Rockets, and I think the Lakers are in trouble, right? Luka's certainly not playing this
they're in
game,
trouble.
and Reeves isn't playing this game, but it'll be his 19th playoff series in 23 years, NBA records for both. Whatever you think of LeBron, he's one of the greatest players ever. Do I think he's the greatest player? I don't, but he's one of the greatest players ever. And for him to do it at his level at 43, um, I'm not taking anything away from Tom Brady, but he was a fairly well protected quarterback. And LeBron's got to take a semi beating almost every day, but he still got it. But I think they're in deep trouble because again, I don't know when Doncic is coming back or if he's coming back, or Reeves for that matter. But that's their 1, 2, 3 that I thought would give them a chance to make a real run. But I don't think they're going to get by the Rockets, especially if those guys don't play at all.
I don't think they're doing anything, even if they do get past the Rockets. But you're right, LeBron's still over 40 years old. He's still a dangerous player. It's unbelievable. And he's still pretty healthy. He just has longevity. He's got the Tom Brady genes. Good for him. NHL, it's a new season. We talk about it's the second season. It's another whole season. These guys play, they get banged up, and it's just the level of intensity goes up. I don't know. Is anyone bummed out that the Flyers made the playoffs and kind of knocked the Capitals out, which would have been Ovi and maybe Sid, and Ovi's no longer, at least this year. And there's speculation that he might go back and play in the KHL with his family. I know he's got the goal record. But I don't know if he cares about getting to 1,000. He'd have to play another three years maybe in the NHL. But certainly, if it is the swan song, he'll be missed, man. I love watching Obi.
Yeah, well, he finished 32 goals, 32 assists, the leading scorer forever. He actually led the team in goals 21 years in a row now. He is 40. But I saw the interview after the game. TJ Oshie, that's it, right? Isn't
TJ Oshie, yeah,
that? He's now working at ESPN.
sure.
He interviewed Ovi right after the game. And Ovi said, now, ESPN put something up that said, it was like a definite, they quoted him as saying, pretty sure I'll be back. Now, I heard that interview, and maybe he said it somewhere else. But what he said was, I hope it's not my last game. The problem with I hope it's not my last game, if you're thinking he's playing in the NHL, is there's been rumors he wants to play in the KHL, the Russian league. He's tight with Putin. He's got family there, et cetera, et cetera. And I certainly think he can do it. He got an empty net goal the next to last game, and he missed an empty net. Or I don't know if you saw the shot from the blue line. Now there was a guy kind of on him, but he missed the net from the blue line. But he finished with 32 goals, 929. So he's 71 away. That's 2 good years for Obi. 2 36 goal years. I think he can do it, but they could also use him if there were a rebuild. And I think he wants to stay in Washington if he stays. Wants to be one of those I spent my whole career type guys. But you're right, it would have been great one last time to see Crosby against Ovi, but it's not to be. Those damn Flyers.
Making the postseason, first time in 6 years. Any matchups jump out at you? I mean, that Penguins team, I don't know if they have enough to win the cup, but Chris Letang's still playing, and Malkin's still there, and Crosby has aged very well. I mean, those guys won 3 cups for that organization. I don't know where they're going in these playoffs, but can the Flyers have any chance against them?
Puncher's chance, that's about it. But I'm just trying to pull up here it is. I kind of like the Sabres and the Bruins. I mean, the Sabres are really, really good. And I don't know if the Bruins can give them a run for their money, but that would be one to look at. Also, the Lightning and the Canadians. The Canadians became good again. And the Lightning, I'm not analogizing them to Golden State, but to me, they're kind of in that they've lost a couple of guys, but they still have, the experience that you need. And I just wanted to give you a couple quick ones. First of all, Stamkos, who I always think of Stamkos. Well, who do you think of? Tampa Bay, right? That Stamkos played for Nashville this year and he scored 42 goals. So I don't know that I would think Tampa regrets that, losing him. Because he did come off that one year he was hurt. Remember, he limped into a game. I won't say it was Willis Reed, but he scored a big, big goal.
In the
And
finals.
it kind of moved the team on to victory. I do like the Colorado Avalanche because I don't know, McKinnon's a Hall of Famer. He won his first. Do you know that they gave out the Maurice Richard trophy to the guy who scores the most goals in the NHL regular season? McKinnon won that with 53 goals. And of course, Maurice Richard, Rocket Richard, was one of the greatest goal scorers of all time. First guy to score, I think, did he score 50 goals in 50 games?
50 and 50, he did.
Yeah. And the Avalanche are 41-0-0. They didn't lose the game when they were ahead after 2 periods. 41-0-0 NHL record, never happened before. Can they bring that over to the playoffs? Well, that's the old, we'll have to see. It might be one of those games where they're up 1-0 after 2 periods. You know what I mean? But I think it's Carolina and Colorado in the finals, but I think that's I'm picking the 2 favorites probably. I didn't look at DraftKings or anything on that stuff. But I think could be the Avalanche's turn. And again, that stat sticks out to me. McKinnon's a superstar. And I think people know that. It's not like they don't know that. So that's who I would be watching, but I hope Ovi comes back because I'd love to see him go for 1,000.
I think he's coming back.
Well, I hope you're right. Now, can he get 71 in 2 years? That'll be tough. But he got 32.
Tough. It might
He got
take him
32
3 years.
this year, and he missed one in the last game. So that would be, 33. But whatever. We'll see what happens. It's his decision. He is 40 years old, but he's a tough guy. They showed a replay of his first goal in his first game ever in 2005. He laid a check on somebody early on in his first game, and then he scored 2 goals in his first game.
That was Staszak Suchi of the Blue Jackets. His first shift, he went right by Adam Foote and just buried Suchi to the boards.
This was against the boards behind the net, right? It was unbelievable.
I saw that on social media.
I forgot, but my goodness. And that's to me, that's the beauty of Ovechkin. He never complained.
He doesn't care. He went end to end on that shift. He went right by everybody. like an ICBM. Adam Foote, no heads up to his teammate, and Sushi's back there had no idea. He just gets drilled.
And one final stat in the NHL. So Connor McDavid had like 4 assists in his last game this year. And he's the first guy to score at least 45 goals and 90 assists in the same season since 1995-96. I didn't have time to look up to see who did that. I wish they would tell me when you do that, it's first time since this or that, blah,
Right.
blah, blah. But I apologize. I didn't have time to look it up because I was too busy looking up if Bam Adebayo scored 83 points in a game. Was there a chance it wouldn't have counted? But again, I think that might be an extraordinary circumstance. But I'm mixing things up.
Ridiculous, man. Ridiculous.
I don't know what to say, Joe. I don't know what to say.
um, I'm going to talk a little bit about baseball. I mean, the Phillies, it's a long season, and I always tell people, relax. This is what they do. But they're getting clobbered now. I mean, they got blown out by the Cubs. They got beat last night by the Braves, 9-zip. I mean, the bats aren't doing it again. Rob Thompson, again, in speculation that his job's on the line. I'd have fired him 3 years ago after he pulled Zach Wheeler in a World Series, but that's just me. And he's done some other dumb things. But there's a team that just, seems to underachieve, seems to take the same approach at the plate, and they have pretty high payroll, and they've got good players, but it's just very frustrating watching them. I'm not sure what it's like watching from outside of this area, watching them how the Phillies play. I know you get frustrated with your Mets, but
Not the Mets, not for me. We'll talk about them, but no, I'm a Yankee fan.
no, that's right. No, I know that. But you are very dialed into both New York teams. Um, it can be frustrating to watch, but I just tell you, like, ebbs and flows of baseball. Mike Trout, though, he's coming around. Can he bring Anaheim, lift Anaheim out of the dregs of of the AL West?
Why isn't he on the Phillies again? Why isn't he on the Phillies?
It's a good question.
Oh my
Really
God.
good question.
Well, a couple of things about that 4-game series over the weekend, last weekend, where um let me see, Judge hit 4 homers, I think. Trout hit 5 homers. And how about this stat that again, without computers, we would never even have this stuff, I don't think. Judge and Trout are the second group of multi MVP winners to have multi home run games in the same series. The only other people ever to do it was on June 21st, 1956, Stan Musial and Roy Campanella. Musial of Cardinal fame, Roy Campanella, of course, ill-fated Dodger fame. This is a couple of years before he got crippled in a car accident. But until this past Monday, that's the only. So Judge and Trout both hit 2 home runs in that game. And so it's only those 2 guys in the history when you think about it. Now, multi MVPs, it's hard to get, right? Multi MVPs. But those are the only 2 groupings in the history of baseball. Now, again, I would go back, Babe Ruth in the 20s could only win 1 MVP. Lou Gehrig in the 20s could only win 1 MVP. But this is an incredible stat. Great stat ever. If you're doing baseball trivia, Joe, and you want to make some money, Stan Musial had 3,650 hits. Pretty good number, right? I'm sorry, 3,630. Maybe I have those numbers wrong. But he had 1,815 hits at home and 1,815 hits on the road.
Pretty balanced. Pretty balanced.
I'll have to go check that because I think 3,650 I wrote down. So maybe it's 1,825 and 18. I think it's 1,815 and 1,850. But I never heard a stat like that. Stan Musial was the hit man. I mean, he was the hit man. He's one of only 2 guys to hit 5 home runs in a doubleheader. And the other guy is Nate Colbert, because I looked that one up. But
Pretty good day. That's a pretty good day.
yeah, well, he was an amazing hitter, Stan Musial. But whatever. The Mets, I don't want to, I don't really care about the Mets that much, but they were 7-4, Joe. And now they're 7-13. They lost 9 games in a row. And I almost feel bad for the owner, but the owner to me is now he was a Met fan who spent billions and billions and billions. I think he's a Wall Street, stock guy. I don't really know much about him, but he always seems to be coming on every year and apologizing. But he went with the old, well, it's early in the season, we'll see what happens. And look, the Mets are really talented, but they've lost 9 in a row. I mean, it was bad for them to have to go play the Dodgers. I think when they lose 3 in a row to the Dodgers or whatever. Sometimes you need a big weakness in the schedule so you can get out of these slumps. But they lost to the Cubs yesterday, 12-4. I don't really know what to say about the Mets. But if you're a Met fan, you're losing your mind. Because who would have thought 7-13? I mean, they missed the playoffs by 1 or 2 games last year.
Yeah, well, it is a long season, but you're right. Losing 9 games in a row,
Hard to
that's
do.
bad.
And I'll give you one more Yankee stat since I told you I'm a Yankee guy, but this is, Judge, for years we talked about who, if anybody, can break in when you talk about the Yankees. If you know what you're talking about, it's an obvious Ruth. Ruth is number one, of course. 2, 3, 4, you can argue. Ruth, Gehrig, Mantle, DiMaggio. Okay? But now the question is Aaron Judge getting into that group? And of course, even Yankee fans will say, well, if he doesn't win a World Series, he ain't getting into that group. But as of Monday, Aaron Judge, multi-home run games in the history of the Yankees, Judge now has 47. Mickey Mantle has 46, so he's in second place. And of course, Babe Ruth is, beyond Oscar. He's got 68 of those. That's multi-home run games.
That's unbelievable.
And now they have a new stat. And again, without the history of baseball and the computers and the technology, most career first inning home runs for the Yankees. Judge has 87. He just passed Gehrig by 1, who had 86. Mickey Mantle has 103. And then there's Babe Ruth with 126. I mean, I was looking at some Ohtani pitching stats, but I won't go there. But please don't tell me Ohtani's better than Babe Ruth. Please don't tell me that.
Crazy, right?
Well, crazy to me, but I could be in the minority. I don't know how it's really a thing.
Because it's recency bias. Everyone's like, "Wow, look what he's phenomenal. I like watching him play. I really do."
It is recency bias. It's like in 2000 when suddenly Michael Jordan became the greatest athlete of all time.
Yeah.
Not just the greatest best, but the greatest athlete of all time. And they put Babe Ruth in front of Jim Thorpe. I won't go back into that stuff, but Jim Thorpe in 1950 had triple the votes of Babe Ruth for the greatest athlete of the first 50 years. And he was also voted the greatest football player in the first 50 years. Yet somehow he got dropped from number 2 to like number 6 or 7. And Jesse Owens was put in front of him. And Jesse Owens, nothing away from Jesse Owens, but 4 gold medals in the 36 Olympics. I don't want to go into the Jim Thorpe thing. Read the biography. Trying to think of the author's name. He's a really good biographer. I can't remember his name, but I read the book and it's like, he's the greatest athlete by far. That's what the author is saying. That's what I'm
Judge
saying.
that though. What's the criteria? I mean, I won't get into it, but I know there's different criterias for different people, I guess. But look, they're all phenomenal in their own way. I mean, Jim Thorpe, yeah, but people don't around now don't remember him because they don't. I don't even watch Jim Thorpe, but I've heard of him and I've heard of what he did. Jesse Owens, I know about the 4 gold medals, impressive. Right now I'll go with Ovi.
Yeah, where is he on the list?
Right? Why isn't Ovi on the list, man? Come on, he passed 99 last year. Come on, who does that? Who shatters Gretzky's record and doesn't get those votes for the athlete of the century or whatever? But I did like that. His first shift, just going by and just obliterating Vladislav Suchi. I'd like to hear what Sushi had to say. I think that was 2005 or 6.
Right, 2005. I think he said ow.
The Penguins got Crosby in 05 because I'm not going to say they tanked, but they had a very convenient bad year. All right. And the next year, they almost had the same. The Caps just edged them out. Imagine if if the Penguins did that, they would have gotten Ovechkin as well, probably. They got Malkin, which isn't bad. He's a Hall of Famer. That's not bad.
You're right.
But imagine if Ovi and and Crosby on the same squad. Wow. Penguins seem to miraculously when Yager's available. Of course, the Flyers screwed that up, but um, Lemieux, you know what I mean? They draft and they go out and get these guys that somehow carry them to 5 cups. 5 cups, pretty good. Mario's got 2, Sid's got 3. So we'll see. Flyers and Penguins. I know everyone's all pretty jacked that hockey's back in this town, but you're right. They finished the season with the same amount of points, but it's different when they play each other. We'll see. We'll see.
One final thing for me, it could be worse for you. You could live in New York.
Yeah, that's
How'd those Devils do? How'd those Islanders do? How'd those Rangers do? Rangers can't blame the coach because he won the Olympics, right?
yeah,
And he won 2 cups in Pittsburgh, I think.
he did.
Don't think they can fire the coach.
Somehow they do. Somehow they still do. Hey, good stuff, bro. You can catch Steve's stuff on his daily Facebook forum page. Speaking of sports, with Steve Kallas. You can check out this podcast on YouTube and all the audio outlets every week on Saturdays, unless otherwise noted. You can follow me on Instagram at JoeStaszak4799 or on Twitter at JoeStaszak975. Good stuff. All good fun. We'll check in on week 1 of the playoffs next Saturday, bro. Enjoy your weekend, and folks, appreciate you watching as always.
Always a pleasure, Joe.
You too, bud. Talk to you.